Hey students, welcome back to Social Studies. Today, let's see, what day is it today? It is Wednesday, April 1st. To kind of get back into the swing of things with Social Studies, I thought I would give you a just sort of, I guess it would be a 26 question test just to kind of see how much you remember from the year. I'm looking for, it would be 10 short answer, and then on the last 5 questions, I'm looking for about 4 to 5 sentences each. This will take a little while, and let's see, there's one other thing real quick. April Fools. Sorry, it's the first time in a while that I haven't been at school on April Fool's Day, so I had to get one April Fool's joke in there. No. This is going to be a much more laid-back class as we kind of get back into the swing of things. We're going to resume our work on the Quien soy project that we were working on, where we were started by exploring multiple points of view and multiple perspectives. And we started this with Three Little Pigs. We looked at this in news media through an article that we read from the New York Times. And we also explored how, when we looked at Spanish colonization and what the history of how the Spanish conquered and colonized what was called then the New World, how a lot of the history that we studied came only from the perspective of the Spanish, specifically the Spanish generals. And one thing that the Spanish generals did to justify their colonization and some pretty terrible things that they did when colonizing what was called the New World, how they focused specifically on the human sacrifices that were conducted by the Aztecs. But as we've talked about, that did not tell the full story of the Aztecs, the Aztec civilization. As we now know, the Aztecs were an incredibly advanced civilization in many ways. The Aztecs, their farming techniques, the chinampas that they use, they were able to provide food and feed incredible cities, cities of incredible size. These farming techniques are now being researched today and to try to figure out how we can more effectively deliver food and feed an increasingly growing population through the planet. Some projections have us believe that we'll have 9 billion people in the world by 2050. And so figuring out techniques so that we can effectively provide food for a growing population is incredibly important. And today, some are researching how we could reestablish some of these chinampas in order to feed our increasing population. Excuse me. So, with that said, we're going to continue exploring multiple perspectives today, and we're going to start by exploring the checklist that is uploaded on Google Classroom, and it should be your guide for the work that you do in social studies this week. So, jumping to this guide. So students, you will be able, if you go to Google Classroom, in Google Classroom, you're going to have an assignment that should say Social Studies Week 1 Checklist. When you click on that assignment, you'll have a link to a Google Doc that's right here. And here it is, 6th grade Social Studies Checklist for April 1st through April 3rd. So first, looking at some of the work, if you weren't able to get checkpoint 1 or checkpoint 2 done, I've listed the work that you'll need to do for both of those checkpoints up here. If you missed checkpoint 2, which is when you were challenged to rewrite the Three Little Pigs, that lesson, that Nearpod self-paced lesson, is linked in the Summit Learning platform, and I also posted a YouTube video where I teach that lesson as well. So if you do need to catch up, the work that you need to catch up on is listed right here. Now under current work, you'll see that we're going to be working on checkpoint 3, which is point of view practice. We're going to read the background info on Hernan Cortez's plot to conquer modern-day Mexico City, and then we're going to answer questions 1 and 2. 3 is optional, but if you are wanting to work to get a 5 on this assignment, usually your scale is from 2 to 4. You will be able to, if you're able to answer the questions completely, which means you fulfill the sentence requirement, as well as correctly. The second part that we're going to do today is read your primary source analysis. That's your final product. You will not complete your final product today. All you're going to do is read primary source number 3 and answer 2 questions, questions A and B. So just to recap, today we're going to finish checkpoint 3, and then we're going to start our final product number 1, which is primary source analysis. All right, and if you do get done with this, I had a few students in my English class who breezed through our work yesterday. I have posted additional work that we can work on, including starting your narrative, where you are part of the Maya, Inca, Aztecs, or Tiano when the Spanish begin to colonize your home, and writing from the perspective of the Maya, Inca, Aztecs, or Tiano, because as we remember, so much of the history that was taught only told the Spanish side of the story. All right, so jumping to checkpoint number 3 today, you're going to want to go to the Summit Learning platform, and we will get signed in here. All right, so navigating over to social studies, we'll go to Quien Soy. So many of you have turned in your work over the past few days, and I truly appreciate that. And we're going to start by checkpoint number 3, which is point of view practice. And once you click on point of view practice, you're going to have a reading right here. Now, when the Spanish work to justify what they were doing in quote-unquote the New World, they talked about how they had an ethical need, usually referring to their belief in Catholicism, to help save the Aztec population, the Inca population, the Tiano population, saying that they needed to save these people. However, I want you to pay attention to the differences here. When the General Hernan Cortez, when he reached out to King Charles of Spain, so his king, he did not mention this ethical justification. No, he did not talk about that whatsoever. In fact, Hernan Cortez was in trouble because he was working to conquer the New World without the permission from the king to do so. He was acting a bit rogue. Now, eventually, the Spanish definitely did have plans to conquer the New World, but Hernan Cortez was going too far and was in trouble for this. But when he sent a letter to the king, he did not mention this need. He did not mention human sacrifices, as the Spanish often mentioned when they talked about why they needed to conquer the New World. He did not mention this idea that they needed to save the souls of the people of the New World. No. What Cortez mentioned was just simply making his king more powerful, which shows that there was an entirely different perspective here that the Spanish generals had, that they weren't sharing to the public at the time. Okay, so you'll find important vocabulary defined up here. So be sure to refer to that vocabulary if you get lost at any time. Now, I love how Hernan Cortez starts by addressing his king. You'll notice this right here. Most noble, powerful, and Catholic prince, invincible emperor, and our sovereign lord. 6 days having passed, most powerful prince, since I entered the great city of Tenochtitlan, and having seen some things in it, though but a few compared with what there was to be seen and noted, it seemed to me, judging from these things and from what I had observed of the country, that it would subserve or serve the interests of your majesty and our own security if Montezuma was in my power and not wholly free from restraint. So, look at the first 4 sentences up here. So he's talking, Hernan Cortez, when he's talking to his king, is basically asking right here. He's saying, please give me permission to conquer Tenochtitlan, which is modern-day Mexico City. And remember, he's not telling his king that he needs to do this to save the people here. No, he's saying he wants to do it for the glory of the king, to make the king more powerful. All right, so we will continue. In order that he might not be diverted from the resolution and willing spirit which he showed in the service of your majesty, especially as we Spaniards were somewhat troublesome and difficult to please, lest, feeling annoyed on any occasion, he should do some serious and even might cause all memory of us to perish in the exercise of his great power. In the exercise of his great power. It also appeared to me that if he was under my control, all other countries that were subject to him would be more easily brought to the knowledge and service of your majesty, as afterwards actually happened. I resolved, therefore, to take him and place him in my corners, which were of great strength, and revolving in my mind how this could be effected without occasioning any tumult or disturbance. So, a lot of $10 words here, so let's break this down. When Hernan Cortez is talking about he, when he says the word he is talking about the city of Tenochtitlan, that he wants to take this city. And he's saying it so that everyone would know that Spain was the most powerful civilization. And not only that, but Hernan Cortez is arguing that if he conquers Tenochtitlan, other cities will fall in line and would be more easy to conquer. Basically, if they make an example of Tenochtitlan and say, we took over this city, this is how powerful we are, other cities are going to fall in line. What Hernan Cortez is also saying is that this is going to make Spain much more powerful. So know that when Hernan Cortez is talking privately, he's telling a completely different story about why he wants to conquer the Aztecs. He's saying that he wants to conquer the Aztecs for the glory of Spain and to make Spain more powerful. He's not talking about this as a way to help people, as what was often portrayed not only by the Spanish at that time, but what was taught in history. Unfortunately, there were some pretty horrible things said about the Aztec populations in order to justify warring with the Aztecs and doing terrible things with the Aztecs and the other people who were living in the New World. So in your questions today, you have 2 questions. Who is the author and what is their point of view? So remember, the author is Hernan Cortez here, so I gave you that one. What is Hernan Cortez's point of view about the Aztecs and about Tenochtitlan? What does Hernan Cortez think needs to happen? You need to answer in 5 complete sentences, including 2 quotes. Number 2. Who might have a different point of view? And why do you think it might be different than the point of view of Hernan Cortez? So in 3 sentences, try to think of someone who might feel differently or have a different opinion to Hernan Cortez. Now, optional, if you're wanting to go above and beyond and get a 5 on this, there are 2 links you can click right here and explain how the different situations of the 3 offers influence what they say happened here. If you answer all 3 questions, you can get up to a 5 on this assignment, but remember, number 3 is optional. All right, so students, after checkpoint 3, once you are finished with checkpoint 3 this week, I want you moving on to primary source analysis. So in your primary source analysis, we will keep it very simple today. What I want you to do in your primary source analysis today is you are going to read primary source number 3. This is in your primary source analysis final product. and then you are going to answer questions A and B. Only after reading primary source number 3. There are 4 primary sources. I only want you reading number 3 and then scrolling down and answering questions A and B. All right, so students, just for a quick recap of our lessons today, we are jumping back into our Quien project today and continuing to explore different points of view in the Spanish's colonization of the quote-unquote New World. We are going to finish checkpoint 3 today, and then you're going to start your final product number 1. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to send me messages and continue asking for clarification. If you need to review checkpoint number 1 and the timeline of the Spanish colonization of the Aztecs, there is a complete timeline listed under the resources of checkpoint 1, and I encourage you all to check that out. Students, I have been really encouraged as we have gotten class started. I will have videos. Please refer to my previous videos on this if you need to continue practicing writing from different points of view. And remember, next week, our final product here is going to be exploring different points of view from the Aztecs, Tiano, Inca, or the Aztecs, Tiano, Inca, or the oh my goodness, how am I blanking on this? Or the Maya. And you are going to write as if you were living in one of these civilizations and facing the Spanish as they began to colonize your home. Students, thank you so much for all of your hard work in this assignment today, and please do not hesitate to email if you do have any questions. So students, thank you so much for your hard work today, and I will see you all next week. Thank you so much.